Guten Morgen zusammen. Welcome to another edition of Feedback Freitag, or in this case, Feedback Montag. Sorry again for having to delay this to today. Just a crazy week last week with all the grading of the Anreisen and other stuff in work life. Nonetheless, though, we still wanted to give you some feedback on things that we noticed last week. And we're going to stick to one thing this week, and it's all about prepositions, right? Prepositions were a large focus of some of the material in last chapter, and prepositions in German are tricky. And admittedly, the textbook does not do the best job of explaining the difference between prepositions, because in German there's really two main things you have to worry about with prepositions. First, what is the correct preposition to use in the first place, right? There's a ton of different prepositions, so why do I use ones in certain places and why do I use other ones in other places? And secondly as well, there's a whole distinction between prepositions that are implying location versus prepositions that imply movement and what happens there. So the first thing, and this is where I'd encourage you to look at the accompanying PowerPoint slides that are beneath this announcement. There's a video in there that kind of breaks down relatively well the difference between three of the primary prepositions that we use a lot and that you were using a lot when talking about location. Those are nach, zu, and in. So I'd encourage you to first look at that video. It's about 6 or 7 minutes or so, but the person in the video walks through a lot of different example sentences and breaks down why we use the prepositions in different ways. But I'll reiterate the reason for using those different prepositions first in this, and again in the slides covering this as well. So when we use, if we categorize those kind of the three core prepositions for talking about a location of something, right? It's nach, zu, and in. And if we think about it in kind of hierarchy of sorts, we would start with something like nach, because nach is used for the geographically large things one would visit, right? And that's really when you're talking about traveling to countries, to cities, to continents, to those big geographical bodies of land. We use nach in those cases. So for example, ich fliege nach Berlin. I'm flying to Berlin. In that case, because we're talking about traveling to an actual city, Berlin, we use nach. And we're always going to use nach in that case. So at least nach is kind of easy in the sense that it's, again, you're thinking about large geographical places, right? And it really is those kind of countries, cities, continents. And then it's going to be nach. And in many cases, there's not going to be an article that follows nach, right? Ich fliege nach Berlin. It's not ich fliege nach der Berlin or something. Just ich fliege nach Berlin. Now the second one then is zu. Zu, again, if we're thinking hierarchically, would kind of be in the middle because zu is used primarily for traveling to visit people or places that are non-geographical in nature, or events. So an example that would be, so wir fahren zur Arbeit. We're driving to work. Work it's a place, right? It's not geographical. It's a place you would travel to. But because it's not geographical, we're not going to use nach. We wouldn't say wir fahren nach Arbeit. So wir fahren zur Arbeit. In this case too, I'm contracting zu der, zur, but we could also say wir fahren zu der Arbeit. So here we need to have an article, right? There's going to be some kind of article there. And then we have to conjugate and we have to use the correct case of the article, which in this case is the dative case, because zu will always use the dative case. The final one then, in will be used for places or locations that fundamentally have walls around them, right? If there's an interior to a place, it's going to be used with in, or streets, or countries that have an article, right? So we said initially something like, so ich fliege nach Canada, right? But we wouldn't say ich fliege nach der Schweiz, we would say ich fliege in der Schweiz. So there's a little bit of difference there, right? I'm flying to Switzerland. Ich fliege in der Schweiz. So a little bit of difference there. But also, so Sie gehen in die Schule. So we're going to school, or you are going to school, or they are going to school, right? Sie gehen in die Schule. So there we're using the preposition in, and then the article followed again. Because in that case, die Schule is a building with walls around it, so we use in. So those are at least kind of some basic tips, I guess, to categorize when to use certain prepositions accordingly. The other component, as I said initially, was the whole idea about, all right, well, sometimes they use accusative, sometimes they use data, sometimes they can use both, right? So first and foremost, there are some prepositions that will always use accusative, and there are some prepositions that will always use data. And those you can learn in the textbook. You can look up which use which. But there are some that you can use both, right? And again, those are prepositions like in or on. And then it's a question of, so yeah, why do they use either accusative or data? And again, the tip, I guess, is fundamentally, does the sentence that has a preposition in it, or that needs a preposition, does that sentence imply location? Are we talking about where something is? Or does it imply movement? Are we talking about how to get to something, right? If it implies location, it's going to use the dative case, right? So we could say, if we're talking about die Schule, ist in der Schule, he is in the school. But if we're talking about going to that school then and walk to the school, geht in die Schule. So it's the same person, it's the same object in the sentence, die Schule, but in one case, because they're saying ist in der Schule, we're using the dative case, oder geht in die Schule, accusative, because we're going to the school now. So I guess, fundamentally, if you're wondering ever, like, yeah, what do I use? The key is often in the verb. What does the verb imply? Does the verb imply location? Then use data. Does the verb imply some form of movement? Then you can use accusative. Okay? So I want to focus primarily on those prepositions as something to think about, something to review. Prepositions come up a lot. You're going to encounter them a lot for the rest of the term. So try to keep those in mind. Do some exercises about them if they're still kind of confusing, and keep those in mind as you progress in the course. Okay? So again, make sure to look at some of your feedback from the Anweisen, from the time controller. Sarah will be grading Polizei controller today, and then yeah, all the best with your Anweise on Tuesday. Okay? Tschüss.